Okay, so let's compare monopolistic competition and competitive markets. So in perfectly competitive markets, again, price equals marginal cost. But for monopolistic competition, price is greater than marginal cost. So this is basically just like monopolies, price greater than marginal cost, which we see here. Let me go back real quick, which is what we see here, right? So even in the long run, when there's zero economic profit, right, average total cost is exactly equal to price. Price is greater than marginal cost. So here's marginal cost way down here. Price is greater than marginal cost, okay? And so this is what we call markup. So if you've ever heard that term markup, this is what that means. It means that the firm is charging a price that's greater than its marginal cost. And we can calculate it as the difference between price and marginal cost. Now, another comparison with perfect competition, we saw that in the long run, price ends up being equal to the minimum of average total cost. But for the monopolistically competitive firm, price is going to be greater than minimum of average total cost. So this is going to lead to some inefficiency, right? Firms aren't minimizing their costs in monopolistically competitive industries. All right, so graphically, this is what we see. So over here we've got the monopolistically competitive firm. Again, we see that in the long run, zero economic profits, so the average total cost curve is just barely touching the demand curve at that single point there. And so price is equal to average total cost, which means there's zero economic profit. But price is greater than marginal cost. Okay, so there, right there, that's the markup, the difference between price and marginal cost. So that height there is markup. And basically, we've got what's called excess capacity. So if this firm were to produce the efficient level of output, which is basically the efficient scale where marginal cost is minimized, right? We call that excess capacity. So this bit right here is excess capacity. If the firm were to produce at the efficient scale where average total cost is minimized, that would be efficient. And so the fact that they don't produce that, right, they produce Q here instead, we refer to that difference as excess capacity. Okay, and then of course comparing that to competitive markets that do produce at the minimum of average total cost, right, that's where the efficient outcome is coming from in competitive markets, right? So again, there's the markup. And that's what we would see. That's just making a comparison to the competitive outcome. All right, so in terms of scale and output, under perfect competition in the long run, the firm produces at minimum efficient scale. It produces at its lowest average total cost. It produces the quantity, the smallest quantity that achieves the minimum average total cost. That's what minimum efficient scale is, if you don't recall. Whereas with monopolistic competition in the long run, the firm is producing again with excess capacity, right? It could produce more and at a lower cost, but because it's maximizing profit, it doesn't achieve that. Very similar to monopoly, right? So there you go. Again, there's that efficient scale and the excess capacity, okay? So why not produce more? Well, it's because they're maximizing profit, right? The firm would have to lower its price in order to achieve that minimum efficient scale, right? Which is what you see here. In order to achieve that, they would have to lower their price. In fact, they would have to lower it even less. In order to sell that quantity, that's the price they would have to charge right there. Okay, and if they charged that price, what would happen? Would they be making a profit or a loss? They'd be losing money. So of course they're not going to do that, right? So comparing again to perfectly competitive firms operate at capacity at the minimum of average total cost, whereas monopolistically competitive firms don't. And so overall output is higher in terms of a perfectly competitive industry.